Hey, good morning. This is Jared Cornett. We're going to give just a couple minutes for people to sign on. Again, this is Jared Cornett, Executive Director of SOAR, and we're excited to be here in Booneville today in Kentucky, and we're sitting in a Teleworks Hub, and I've got several representatives from so many partners that have helped make this hub a reality. And we're going to talk about that today. But I'm going to give just a few minutes. If you're watching right now, go ahead and share it. I'm actually going to do it myself. I'm going to share it with your friends. And just like always, we're going to take questions, comments. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section. We'll do our best to answer any questions you might have. All right, if you're on and watching, leave us a comment, let us know where you're from, and again, share as much as you can. Continue to share it. We want to get as many people involved in the conversation as we can. We sent an email out this morning to a lot of our partners and told them we'd be on. This is a place to give some feedback and get some updates on what's happening. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll get started. This is what we're calling the Future of Appalachia podcast, and we want to have this place to communicate the great things that are happening in the region, because we believe there is a future in Appalachia, and it doesn't rest on SOAR necessarily or any individual organization, but really the collective impact of what a lot of different communities are doing and a lot of different people. SOAR is about the unity that brings people together in this region to say, you know what, we're not giving up. There's been a lot of debate about what's going to happen in our region. But the debate is over. There is a future in Appalachia, and that's what we're here to talk about today and give an example. So continue to share, make a comment, let us know where you're watching from, just so we can have an idea of who the audience is, and it's going to be another great day. Again, we are on site today. This is the first episode we've done from a remote location. We are in Booneville, Kentucky. Down in Owsley County at a Teleworks Hub here that's been around for close to 2 years maybe, and we're going to talk about how it got started, talk about some of the impact here, and have a great conversation with Mike Cornett, who's with EKCEP, about the Teleworks program, and some local representatives of the local action team, and hopefully an employee here in the hub, so you can get an idea of how they work and what it's like. First, I'll give a real quick update, just the last couple of weeks of what's happened at SOAR and what's going on in the region. Want you to be mindful that last week they had the ARC Power convening, talking about the Appalachian Regional Commission power grants that are available that have been announced. Those are, I think the first rolling deadline for application for those grants is going to be May 1st. So you can find all the details of that information at arc.gov/power. So if you're a community or you're in a nonprofit and you've got a project and you're wondering if you need some funding, everybody needs funding, right? I mean, that's the reality. So that's a great place. You can go find all the information, the application process and the requirements and what kind of projects they're looking at funding. I thought it was a good day. Had a lot of people together. I guess when you announce that you've got $20 million and you got free lunch, people show up. And they did that day. There were a lot of people, and a lot of conversations. One thing I'd like to reinforce is the importance of collaboration in all of this work, and the idea that not just collaborating on your project, but understanding what other projects are happening in your community. Because since that one day, we've taken a lot of calls in our office about ideas that people have and projects that they're working on. And we want to make sure that we've got a cohesive effort in Eastern or in Appalachia, Kentucky to accomplish something. And we think that thing that we're trying to accomplish is the 21st century Appalachia. And we've created a blueprint around that. You can find our blueprint online. We'll get Josh in a minute to share that link again and just post it under the comments if you're wondering what the plan is. You can find it right there. So again, continue to share this live feed out and get ready to ask some questions and learn today. That's what these are about. We also at SOAR last week we had a great meeting with KCTCS President Dr. Jay Box and 4 of the community college presidents in Appalachia, Kentucky. So with Southeast Community Technical College, Hazard Community College, Big Sandy, and Ashland. Talking about this year and some innovative workforce programs and how we can better integrate and all work across borders in the workforce realm, and having EKCEP here today is such a key partner in all of those conversations. But it was great to have them reach out to us and say, how do we get together and how do we help? How do we help implement this blueprint? And we had a lot of great ideas come out of that meeting that you should be watching for. Got a couple of events coming up. The Appalachian Funders Network. It's a large organization that's going to be meeting in Pikeville April 24th through 26th. So I'd encourage you to go check that out as well. I got to sit in, and this will kind of lead into our Teleworks conversation. I got to sit in about 2 weeks ago on an IT advisory group for Big Sandy Community and Technical College, and we had a lot of our IT employers from the region talking about their needs for a workforce. And so the key thing that came out of that conversation for me was this response from employers that said certificates are important, degrees are important, but they said when we sit down, we want to hire somebody, we want to know, can you do it? Have you done this work? What's your experience? So this whole discussion that's happened around apprenticeships and internships and a combination of work and training are critically important. And that was just, it opened my eyes to hear them say, we just want to know, can you do it? And so to see the response from community colleges and how we respond to what employers need is going to be interesting because the world is a changing. So with that, we're gonna kind of bring Mike into the conversation here, and we're going to talk about where we're sitting today. We're going to talk about I guess we should probably start just with Teleworks USA in general. Give me a little history and a summary of how to get started and how many hubs do you have right now?
Sure. Well, that's a great way to kick it off. You know, we are here in the Booneville Teleworks Hub in Owsley County. This has been in operation since 2016, and you know, in that time we placed about 154 people into telework employment. That's a huge impact for the local community, and Molly can talk a little bit about that in a minute. But as far as, you know, just this is the immediate surroundings. We have 7 other teleworks hubs in the region. We've got Pike, Perry, Jackson, Lee, Lawrence, Leslie, and Harlan counties. That's hard to remember all those off the top of my head.
Good. I think I let you make a cheat sheet.
I did. I will admit, I don't want to forget anybody, but you know, it was easier when we had 2 or 3, but now there's 8. But you know, the history of this goes back probably about 8 years as an initiative that originally kicked off with Hazard Community and Technical College's then president, and he had a concept for distance earning, and he was thinking that was a good idea to be able to have something that let people, you know, upskill to the degree they could, but work for companies outside the region from within the region. So some of the transitions with that took place. You know, Josh Ball, your assistant director at this point, came over to EKCEP. Kentucky Teleworks was started up somewhere in the neighborhood of about 8 years ago, and at that point it was just an opportunity to capitalize and grow that vision and to get it moving forward in a way that you know, kept it going. And that's exactly what it did. When EKCEP absorbed that and made Kentucky Teleworks, there were a lot of initial partnerships with companies outside the region. There was training done for those companies, and people started working remotely for those companies. Yeah. And it wasn't a lot of companies back then. It was a few big ones up in neighboring states and so on. But the concept, the proof of concept was there early on. But if you fast forward to, you know, the list of hubs I just rattled off today, since that point, we've shifted into Teleworks USA with a lot broader focus. But the point of that is still, I mean, we are opening up opportunities for people to search our jobs board anywhere in the country that they want to. Yeah. But the focus of our effort was and is and will always be Eastern Kentucky. Yeah. And helping people here who need that. I mean, you cannot always rely on a huge company coming to every single county in Eastern Kentucky. Those we get are phenomenal, and kudos to Chuck Sexton and anybody in the governor's office, anyone who's been responsible for what we've seen lately, and SOAR as well. But, you know, we still have to have opportunity for people within Eastern Kentucky to have gainful employment And why not take advantage of the digital economy to work remotely and to prepare people to be able to work remotely? So that's what's led to the 8 hubs that we have now scattered across eastern Kentucky, and a growing list of employer partners who they know the success we've had, the over 1,400 telework job placements since 2015, and that still spins my head around thinking about it, but it's because people,
how many is that? What was that number?
About 1,400, a little over 1,400 generated since January of 2015.
Wow.
So, and that's had a large impact on new annual wages in the region as well, and just quality of life, local government impact, local tax impact, business impact, people having money in their pocket to spend.
Yeah.
Every job we can make helps replace jobs that have been lost.
Absolutely.
We've got a long way to go, but you know, we're going there.
Economic impact.
Absolutely. Sure. And we're doing it through the digital economy so people can be here in the locations they want to be in, and then still work for companies that have huge contracts with Fortune 500 companies, get benefits, retirement, time off, discounts at certain things. I mean, it's a real job.
Yeah.
You're just doing it from your home, or you're doing it from within a hub for a company somewhere else.
Yeah, let's talk about kind of the overall strategy of this, the Teleworks Hub, and how it fits into kind of our bigger strategy in the region to build a 21st century Appalachia. And it is about economic opportunity. And, you know, we share a lot about the numbers that we, you know, from our calculations, that 30,000 people need to go to work in this region. And that's a big number. And you know, looking at all the traditional forms of economic development, we don't think you can pull that off. I think there's just limited amount of research. But with this idea of connectivity and broadband connection, no longer do you have to create a job. I say all the time, we need 30,000 people working. We don't need to create 30,000 jobs, because there are a lot of jobs, and this is a perfect example at Teleworks that already exist that we just need to connect people to. That's right. And so that was I think the idea from the beginning, and we've just grown on that and wrapped more partners around it. And there was a time that, you know, just hearing from Josh's stories, kind of on the ground, trying to get those first hubs started, that people thought, this is crazy. This is the craziest thing. And to be honest, I was working in industrial recruitment primarily at that time. I thought, that's crazy. We're doing this other thing. So I was one of those guys probably saying, this doesn't make sense. And then you begin to see and you begin to meet the companies, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more in a minute, but you and I were at a conference last year, and I saw a statistic that said by 2020, 1 in every 2 jobs will be worked remotely. Yes. This idea that it's not just some passing fad, that it's not at one point what people thought were maybe scams, or these are legitimate, full-time, sometimes salaried with benefit jobs that are real. That's right. And building these hubs allows us to connect to those employers and create a welfare. So let's talk specifically about the Booneville Hub here, if we can. So we got Molly Turner here with us, and we're going to bring her in kind of the conversation. And she's part of the Owsley County Action Team, right? Did I get that part right? Yes. So let's talk a little bit about how this hub got started. The reason we want to do this, we want you to understand, if you're in a community you don't have a hub, well, how do I get one? And so we think the best way to learn is to hear the story of kind of how this one got started. So I'll let Molly kind of start and tell us, you know, what got you all thinking we need a hub here, and what was the process like for you all?
Well, actually, because we have had great internet access here for a long time, I had been thinking for some time that we needed in some way to be taking advantage of that it could bring employment here. Owsley County has always been primarily an agricultural community, and when tobacco went away, that left a big void in the economy here. And if you know much about Owsley County, you know that we are always at the bottom statistically, and we view that as because of the lack of employment opportunities. And as Michael Cornett said, you cannot get companies to move into all the counties. we've tried that route. We've tried to get factories and companies to move in here into industrial park, which is ready and waiting for someone. But that's just, we have come to the conclusion that we have to do other things. So Teleworks here has been a total blessing for us. In a county where the school system and the local nursing home are the primary employers, I think Teleworks has passed those up. We feel like we've made a difference in the lives of the 150-something people who have gotten jobs through Teleworks. We know that some people have just feel blessed that they have been able to get employment through Teleworks.
So 150 people have been employed in this hub. What's the population of Owsley County?
It's 4,700 and something. And we've been losing population every year.
Yeah. You think about that. This is probably the smallest populated county, maybe in Kentucky. It's one of the smallest.
I think Elliott County might be smaller than we are.
But 150
smaller.
150 jobs in this size of county is a tremendous. I mean, if we would have been cutting ribbon on a company that located here creating 150 jobs, it would be a big day.
That's what I tell people. People would be so excited if a factory paying the wages that people were getting through Teleworks moved here. People would be so excited. Maybe because it's work out of the home, it's not as publicized. But there's not exactly the same excitement, except among the people who have gotten jobs.
Sure.
So how did we get this one? Who were the partners? You mentioned that earlier, how critical partners were. Who were the partners that helped get this one off the ground? And what did it take?
We absolutely could not have done it without People's Rural Telephone, with the great internet access that we have, and also with their financial contribution to help get the equipment and all that set up. Jackson Energy, our local electrical cooperative, has been so supportive. The Fiscal Court has been supportive, have been behind us all the way, help publicize it, help fund it, and of course EKCEP, what they've done, and Solar.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of partners, a lot of collaboration and working together, but it has been really a true blessing here in Owsley County.
And I'll say that it was, the first few calls that I received about Booneville were from a man named Donnie Hughes, and he was the chair at the time, and probably still is, of Keith Gabbard, the CEO of People's Rural Telephone Cooperative, of their board of directors. And Donnie kept calling me and saying, I'd like to have a meeting in Owsley County. So it took a little while for that to come to pass, but when we finally did, we had it up at the library up the street here, and there were probably 40 people in that room, and it represented every key sector Molly already mentioned. You had education, you had the school systems principals, superintendents, local telecommunications, Owsley County Action Team, Owsley County Fiscal Court, Cal Turner, Judge Executive, and many, many other people. And they were already ready and mobilized together, and were basically just ready to start a conversation on what they needed to do to make this happen here. And of course, it wasn't something that happened overnight.
Right.
You got to wait till the funding opportunities come to pass, and of course, you guys helped out there, and I think that was a critical contribution. I think USDA did to some extent as well.
Yes, they did, and they still are.
Yeah, so their rural development efforts are critical for everything, and in other ways too. So those partners came together, had a dream and a vision. We just came to them and said what we could do, what we couldn't do, and we're just honest about that. And then as the funding opportunities became real, things started happening.
Yeah, let's talk. I know it's different in every community and different scenario, but kind of baseline, what's the startup cost to get a hub up and going? I know you can limit that lots of times if you've got somebody willing to offer space at the local level, or but what's kind of the baseline of what it takes to get it up and going, and then kind of operate it, and how do you fund it?
Well, there too, it's a complex mix of which partners are at the table and what funding they've accessed, what they can access, what we at EKCEP and Teleworks can access. It varies by location, but I would say a safe estimate is anywhere, $100,000, $200,000 in that range typically will take a place that is not a hub with nothing in it,
Yeah.
and make it into that, and then also allow some leeway with our operations to help contribute to staff to operate it. We have to put an expert hub manager who we train
Right.
for months and nest them with some of our more skilled and long-term managers to get them ready.
Yeah.
Teach them how to do it. That's generally what it takes financially.
Right.
Now, in terms of partnership, I like to say we've never gone to a community and said, hey, we'd love to put a Teleworks hub in your town.
Right.
Those communities like Molly and all those people I mentioned came to us and said, we really like this idea. And it wasn't just one or two people, it was every key sector in this community together
Yeah.
with an idea of how this could work. And because we view these hubs as the community's hubs.
Right.
They're not ours. This property you're sitting in here is Owsley County Action Team.
Right.
The computers in here, all this stuff is done from the local side of it because it is their hub, and that's why Judge Executive Kel Turner we'll have a job fair and he'll hand out flyers for that
Right.
down the street here.
Right.
And he's incredibly proud of it, and we're proud of him for being so proud of it. It's a community thing.
Yeah, vision.
It's
There
vision.
was vision
Yes.
here. There were people working together,
Mhm.
and that's what gets things done.
Absolutely.
There's a sign behind the camera on the wall, and I saw it on several walls when we came in. It says every accomplishment starts with a decision to try.
Yes.
And you got people in here that are trying new things, that are employees of new companies they thought they would never work
Absolutely.
for in Booneville.
Yeah.
And you've got also a collection of community leaders that tried something completely different and found a way to fund it, found a way to get the partners together to make it happen. Let's talk a little bit about how the hubs are designed. What we're sitting in, this is the training room,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
we've got several PCs around us, a couple Macs,
Mhm.
and then kind of lay the construction, what a hub typically has in it, and what the
Okay.
process is like.
Well, yeah, this is the training room. This is where a hub manager will lead our workshops that we host. And we usually try to have a workshop every single month, year long, for as many people who sign up and register and come into that. And that's where they get our technical support expertise and get their workshop materials on that and those modules, customer service and support, digital literacy, soft work skills. We have a WorkSense instructor at EKCEP who comes into the hubs and leads that part of it. And that's just, showing up to work on time and doing what you got to do.
Right.
The stuff that a lot of people take for granted, but no employers take for granted.
Yeah.
That's always what we hear. So those happen every month, and that we've boiled that down. It used to be about a 4-week process. Now it's about a 2-week process. We've condensed it so we can get more people in and have more workshops.
Yeah.
And get people to work and applying for these jobs with our partner companies faster and getting them to work faster. So this is where the workshops take place with our hub managers leading it. What you don't see in here are the workstations that we have, and in this particular facility we have a series of cubicles with computers and headsets and access on them where people can sit. This is actually one of the counties where you'll go out there and there may be 2 people, and the reason that is what Molly said. We've got People's Rural Telephone Cooperative, and you got
They're
fiber to
connected
the
at
home,
Yeah.
and can, if you want, get a gigabit of speed at your house, and then that's unheard of in Eastern Kentucky,
Yeah.
and in most of Kentucky actually. So we're fortunate in that. A lot of our companies, and there's about 20 or so of those workstations out here.
Right.
In the workstation.
So it's kind of like a co-working space.
It
So you may have
absolutely is.
several people sitting out there working, and they're all working for different
companies. That's right.
Yeah.
We don't have, this is a misconception I like to clear up all the time for even partner companies that we have. We are not a company that gets a contract. We're not a call center. I don't ever want anyone to think that. We're not. We don't have exclusive facilities for this company or that company and have a contract, and if that contract goes away, all the jobs are gone. That's why Teleworks helps the most in these communities, because we have a host of companies we work with, and if one person happens to work for something and want to try something else, they can move up. They can try another job and apply for that and still work here if they need to, or work at home.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a totally different model than a call center. And then still yet we have a lot of companies who mandate that you work at home. So
Right.
there's some of our partners, as nice a places as we have here, they won't let you be in a facility like this, regardless of how fast the internet is, because it's their contracts
Right.
with the companies they work with. But the ones that we have partnership with that allow that, it's great.
Yeah.
Because people can start up here, work here, and then transition home when we've opened that seat up for another person.
Awesome. Well, let's talk, Molly, any final thoughts around having the hub here and the process you went through to get it here?
Well, just that I am so grateful, and I know that the county judge who is not in the county or would have been present today, I know that he is so proud of what Teleworks has done here. We estimate that $3 million outside dollars have been brought into our local economy
just amazing.
through Teleworks, and I think that's a fairly low estimate.
Sure, sure.
And it has been really wonderful for us.
Yeah.
And we want to thank all our partners.
Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you, because it's community leaders, it's people at the local level that make things happen. So we're thankful for your role in making this a reality here.
And I'll say too, just to Molly's credit, you know, we worked together so closely for so long before this ever happened. And really, that adds to your question earlier. That's a component of what it takes to make it work. You know, nobody's forced this on us, and we've not forced it on them. It's been a collaborative effort. We've had many strategic planning meetings and lots of collaboration and work that went into every phase of this, from the first meeting at the library in the dead of winter that year to it standing up and working. And that's what it takes too. It's got to be a hand-in-hand effort with your local partners, so that it matches with what our strategic vision is at EKCEP and Teleworks and the strategic vision of the community.
That's awesome. Thank you for joining us, Molly. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for all you've done, and
No
thank you,
problem.
Michael.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Again, we'll remind you that you can post questions. Molly will hang around here for us a little while, so if you have a question directly to her, Michael, feel free to comment those on the video. And now I want to turn the discussion a little bit from specifically about the hubs to, you know, what types of jobs can people get here? If you're watching and you're thinking, you know, I've been looking for a job in my community forever, and I just can't find something locally. What kind of jobs are available through this process? And also, to work at a job posting on Teleworks USA, you don't necessarily have to have a hub in your community to get started. I mean, you can this idea, the hub, I think, infuses in a community and drives that growth. But you don't have to have it. If you're in a community that doesn't have a hub, you don't think, well, I can't work remotely.
That's right.
So let's talk a little bit about remote work opportunities, and it's not. There are a lot of kind of customer service, technical support type jobs. But we're also growing this into, I don't know if you could share, people with bachelor's degrees, accountants, or teaching opportunities. There are professional skill sets that are applicable in this remote workforce.
Absolutely.
You know, I say all the time, if I call the back of my insurance card and talk to the nurse, you know, your 24/7 nurse, they're sitting at their house somewhere.
Yeah.
So you can be an RN and work remotely. So let's talk a little bit about what companies you're partnering with at Teleworks USA. I guess it was, and we'll. This is probably a good point to kind of transition and talk about the conference we went to last year.
Yeah.
And you guys were familiar with the group. I came across them called FlexJobs.com, and I thought, you know, I got on, and we've been saying we need to employ 30,000 people, and I see this little ticker they keep going, and it said 34,000 jobs posted, and I thought, wait, now this is close to the number we need. We want them all. We'll take them all.
That's right.
So I said, so it just reinforced what you all were doing and what's possible, and you know they've got all these employers trying to hire remote employees, and we got all these employees looking for work.
Right.
So I reached out and just sent an email to the CEO, Sarah Sutton Fell is her name, and said, hey, I want to tell you about Teleworks USA and what we're trying to do in our region. We want to be the leader in this. And they responded immediately. We got on a call. We all got connected. Went up to their annual conference last year in D.C. and got to meet a lot of the employers that they had. So talk to me a little bit since then. What's happened? I know you just had an announcement and what that means for these hubs.
Yeah, from the time that we went to D.C. in September of last year and just basically got the chance to get in front of these people and share the mission and vision and the success of what we've done together through Teleworks and SOAR and all of our partners, I think it opened their eyes up that, you know, we're not competing with them as flex jobs. I mean, they are the nation's largest provider of linkages between people who want to work flexibly, remotely, or part-time or freelance, and companies who hire for those type of jobs.
Yeah.
Like Jared said, there's countless opportunities through them and their employer partners. So we were just saying, can you just work with us to be able to help us do what we do and help bring about more employer connections for the people that we serve here? And if you do that, Flex Jobs, you're bringing about a huge win for yourself because you're solving problems in rural America.
Yeah.
And ain't that cool?
Right.
And
right.
for us, that opens up, I mean, and everything we've done to this point is great, and the companies we work with, a lot of them are the same companies they work with.
Yeah.
And I could rattle a list off: Sutherland, Concentrix, Convergys. Many of those we've already been placing people with for several years now.
Yeah.
But there's that many more. They put out a top 100 list every year of the best companies to work remotely with. How do we get into that? So we forged that partnership, and again, I can't stress enough how important it was that you connected with them, and then we came together and went there. But we just had crazy ideas. Well, what if? What if Flex Jobs partnered with Teleworks and SOAR and everybody and cracked the door open for those connections with your companies? Would that work? Could that work?
Right.
And the answer, thankfully, was yes. And since that got started and really kicked in high gear in January of this year, I mean, we've had telephone calls with, I would say, upwards of 20 or more huge companies like Amazon, companies like Dell, companies like Hilton Hotels, reservations, customer service, companies that have technical support jobs for very large smartphones that a lot of us use and have in our pocket right now. Those kind of jobs. And they had connections with them, so now we have connected with those companies because Flex Jobs made that, they were the conduit for that connection to occur. And where that's leading to, our announcement, we did recently announce that, we put it out through the media and publicly, we've got a partnership with Flex Jobs. And the reason that's important is that it's opening the door to those new companies and new jobs more than ever before with Teleworks and in Eastern Kentucky specifically. And, Flex Jobs is happy to do it. So where that's going next is in mid-April, April 16th, 17th, and 18th specifically. Not only is Flex Jobs coming to Eastern Kentucky, some of their principal leadership and employer services folks coming, but we have 9 other companies, including Amazon, including Hilton, and there's several. I'll just rattle the list off, and I will cheat because I will forget somebody. Broadpath Healthcare Solutions, Granada, Live Ops, Nimble Connect, Sutherland, Sykes, and VIP Kid. They are sending corporate talent acquisition VPs and senior leadership to Eastern Kentucky to work with us and see several of our hubs. And, the pitch they're going to hear from us then is, we want your jobs for our people in Eastern Kentucky.
Right. We've got the people, you've got jobs.
Yes.
I love Jeff, your boss, Jeff Wyatt.
Yeah.
He couldn't get out of this day without getting mentioned.
Absolutely. And nor would he. Yeah.
His quote that he said, Eastern Kentucky is no longer a problem to be solved, we're a solution to be discovered.
Absolutely.
And so that's the pitch we're making to these companies, is that we actually can bring value to what you're trying to do and the work that you're doing. We have an amazing workforce. We got an abundance of it, of available workforce.
Yes.
And we've got all the facilities from community colleges to your hubs to K through 12, awesome facilities that we can train people.
That's right.
And we can retrain them. We can reimagine what a job is.
Right.
And everybody's bought into the idea right now that we can do this collectively. And Flex Jobs loved that.
Absolutely.
That synergy that was going on that said, this isn't just one organization that's trying to do something in one community. This is a collection of the entire region, saying we're going to be different.
That's right.
So I'm so excited that's playing out, and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of background on Flex Jobs. So if you go directly to their site, it's it's a subscription service.
Right.
So if you wanted to just go straight to Flex Jobs, you can get enough of the jobs that are posted there to kind of get you excited. But to get the details, you got to become a member or subscribe. So talk about how that's going to play into your partnership.
Absolutely, and that's another great aspect of it, because in working with them, we wanted and want to use their jobs board when we're doing our workshops and helping our clients that we serve here, our customers, job search. What would be better than to have access to that? So what Teleworks did and EKCEP did was work with Flex Jobs, and we have about 1,500 3-month free subscriptions for Flex Jobs Jobs Board, and we're going to be having client appreciation days at all our Teleworks hubs on March the 27th at 1 p.m. We're actually going to start those events around noon or 12:30, and we're going to have, you know, free food, refreshments, free. We're going to have some, you know, teleworking headset giveaways and drawings for that. But the big thing is at 1 o'clock that day, we're going to have a live webinar with FlexJobs at all of our hubs, so anyone who comes to those events can hear about what FlexJobs is, the things we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Learn about how to search for jobs on it, and by the way, you're going to walk out with a free 3-month subscription thanks to Teleworks and FlexJobs, SOAR, and everybody.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal too.
Yeah, so other partnership, people that come through to these hubs at that event will get 3 months free
Yes.
subscription to FlexJobs, these job postings.
Right.
And assistance from the hubs to help apply for them and connect to specific employers.
That's right.
Well, I know we're running a little short on time, and we got a special guest here in a minute we want to bring on. But we've got, you know, as an added component to this, we've discovered that there's an opportunity for expanded training.
Yes.
As it relates to these jobs, and there's another project that's happening in the region called Digital Careers Now.
Yes.
And so those hubs, there are 3 of those being built. Big Sandy Community Technical College is building one. There's going to be one in Hazard and one in Cumberland.
Yes.
And they are going to be essentially the training arm partner for Teleworks Hub to take on specific. If we come across an employer that says we need somebody to do this, this, and this, it's going to take them 8 weeks to learn
them.
You turn to Digital Careers Now, they can quickly integrate that curriculum, and you can go get that training from the community college focused on these telework opportunities. So,
and that's great. I mean, that opens it. I mean, we do a lot of really great things in our workshops, and we're specializing that even more now toward the more technical support things. But if an employer wants a really detailed certification that is the result of a semester's worth of work or something, that's what that program can bring to this, and we can throw those employers to them and say, can you make this? And if they say yes, let's get people in it.
Yeah.
And we can get them placed for them.
Yep,
So
that's it. That's the vision. Before we transition to this next thing, give it one last recap. Where are the hubs? How many people have been hired since, is it January 2000 or
2015?
Yeah. So recap that real quick before we move on, so people can see the impact.
All right. We have 8 Teleworks hubs, and I'll rip down the list real quick. Owsley, Pike, Perry, Jackson, Lee, Lawrence, Leslie, and Harlan counties. And since January of 2015, we've been responsible for about 1,426 jobs, and then mostly in the telework sense, but also from EKCEP sense. It's important that people are not in the workforce get back in the workforce. Sometimes people may start with teleworks and transition to a brick and mortar job or a brick and mortar employer. That's fine. They're still working. They're in the workforce, and we're not in the workforce. So that's been across, those jobs been generated and helped created since January of 2015. And all the things we've talked about today are just going to grow that and allow us to really expand our influence and our work with partners in the region more than ever before, because those new employers are going to want people. Right. So we got to be ready to respond to that.
So what excites me is the scalability of this.
Yes.
We got 8 hubs, and we put over 1,400 people to work. But the sky's the limit right now. Like, this is one of those things you're looking at. You're like, look at this opportunity. We built this new partner with FlexJobs. We got thousands of jobs that we can connect people to, and you got other communities. We're only limited by the vision of communities that want a hub and internet. So Kentucky Wired, let's remember that, how critical it is to get fiber. We're in Booneville because People's Rural Telephone had fiber. I did a Wi-Fi check when we got here. We're streaming from Booneville, Kentucky right now. We could have done it through Wi-Fi or cell service, had great service here. But I did a Wi-Fi speed check. It was on the Wi-Fi, it was 60 down and 30 up, which is pretty incredible. You can't get that in some big cities.
No.
So People's Rural Telephone's done a great job here, and because of that, I say, our blueprint has 7 goals. The first one is broadband. I say the other 6 are what are we going to do with it.
That's right.
So whether it's health related, tourism related, industrial related, or this what we call 21st century workforce or digital economy, all these are saying, what do we do with broadband to impact rural communities economically?
Right. And I'll be remiss real quick. I just want to kick in and say, even though it wasn't responsible for this particular installation, but Appalachia Regional Commission, Kentucky Department for Local Government have been incredible partners of our effort, who have, I could tell you the hubs in that list, they were responsible for, and that vision of the state leadership, Sandy Donahue and her support staff, and then also, the federal staff.
Yeah.
Soon to be former co-chair Earl Grohl, all of their grant managers, all those people see this vision and have helped fund this vision too, so I didn't want to go without
Yeah,
mentioning
at
that.
Appalachian Regional Commission, just to speak to them for a minute, one, they're one of our funders that help us do our work every day.
Right.
They helped fund several of these different hubs and create you've got several grants with Appalachian
Absolutely.
Regional Commission.
Mhm.
They've been a catalyst for change.
Absolutely.
And as Congressman Rogers says, a vision without funding is a hallucination.
Amen.
So they've turned a lot of visions into realities.
That's right.
So we're thankful for definitely all of our partners, state
Absolutely.
and federal
That's
partners. Got one last guest that is cool. First time we met, right? Chris Johnson. Are you Chris? Good deal. So you scoot on in here. We'll get you in. We've just been talking about the hubs in general, but we wanted to bring somebody on who's experienced it and get you to kind of share your story and where you're from and who you're working for and what you think about this whole concept.
Which question do you want to start with?
So where are you from? Where are you from originally?
There's a lot to discuss. Originally, I'm from Breathitt County.
From Breathitt County.
Born and
And,
raised in Breathitt County. The first location I started working for was the Booneville Hub.
Okay.
Okay.
A really great hub there. Loved the setup, loved the environment. This hub was a little bit closer.
Okay.
So easier to get to, faster to get to.
Mhm.
Equally impressive environments, equally impressive technology. Of course, the internet is something to keep in mind. With
Yes.
all of
Yeah.
these, it's spectacular in both places.
Mhm.
So who you work for?
Sutherland's.
You work for Sutherland's, and at Sutherland, do they? What do you do? What's your kind of day to day, and what's it like?
Day to day, it's what you would expect from any sort of on the phone job. Taking calls, helping people, good and bad situations. The biggest difference with a job like this, there's no environment to think about.
Right.
It's more relaxed. You can work more at your own pace, so to speak.
Yeah.
More laid back. No distractions.
Right.
That's always a plus while being on the phone.
Yeah.
No distractions.
Yeah.
It's just genuinely better than working from a brick and mortar location.
Right. Are you doing technical support type work?
Technical support, billing support, account support.
And for what company is it?
Xbox.
Xbox. So
Mhm.
so here in Booneville, Kentucky, you're doing work essentially for Xbox through a contractor, but you're doing support, billing, account support, technical support. And that's just incredible. Is that something you ever thought you would be doing in Booneville or in Beattyville?
Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest, which speaks volumes to the opportunities at hand with a program like this.
Yeah.
Smaller locations like Booneville,
Right.
like Beattyville, like Breathitt County.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of jobs to choose from on site, if you will.
Right.
Having a program like this, you have more opportunities, more choices,
Right.
more companies, more everything.
Right. So, do you feel optimistic? Do you feel more optimistic about your community because of this program? I mean,
Very much so, yeah.
if it wasn't here, what are the options, I guess, for your skill sets and what you'd like to do would be?
Outside of moving to either do a brick and mortar job or moving to do something like this,
Right.
those are the only options.
Yeah.
Without a company like this.
Yeah. You could almost end it there.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's
really,
the-
that's that. I mean, something like what he's saying is more important than what I say. I mean, we always say the proof's in the pudding, right?
Right.
And,
Right.
the customers we serve are our best spokespeople.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
So how many hours a week do you work right now?
I'm full time.
You're full time, so you're consistent 40 hours a week. Are you on salary? You get paid hourly?
Paid by the hour, and it's usually 40, but there's room for a few extra hours with the position I have. So some weeks that ends up being, or some 2 weeks I should say, that ends up being 41, 42 hours.
So you get a little bit of overtime.
But it's consistent.
Yeah, that's great. And if do you work out of the hub those 40 hours, or out of your home, or a combination?
I work out of the hub.
Yeah.
The initial plan when I first started was work from a hub until I could basically afford my own setup at home.
Right.
After about 3 months of working between Beattyville and here, I just decided I'm going to stay with the hub.
Yeah.
The environment's already perfect for this kind of job. The equipment provided is perfect. The internet's in place.
Right.
Easier just to keep doing, and cheaper in
Right.
comparison to
Right.
keep doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it.
Right. So you get to talk with other people who are working in the hub or working for different companies and different jobs. Do you, and that's got to be some interesting conversations.
Well, the best part about it and the most interesting conversations, my younger brother works for the same hub here, for a different company, U-Haul.
Yeah.
So that in itself, there are stories being exchanged later in the day about bad calls taken, good calls taken.
Right. Oh
things
yeah.
through the day, and then the fact that it's so close to home, we still get to see each other through the day to have those brotherly moments while we're on break or something like that.
Right. So you're working for someone who's doing contract work for Xbox. Your brother's working for U-Haul. If somebody on here to ask how much you make, you don't have to share that. But if you could give us a general range of, what the opportunity is for somebody starting out, or if you want to share, it's up to you.
From everything I've noticed, each company hiring for positions like this base the starting rate off of the state's low income.
Right.
My starting salary was minimum wage.
Yeah.
For the first month.
Right.
If I made it beyond the month, that got increased. Rough estimate, because I don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
It's not about the money for me. I make
Right.
about $10 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's a pretty typical starting range for most of these jobs, but some of them, as you move into a higher tier level of technical support, can get in the $13, $14, $15 an hour range, and you can keep going up with certain of our partners and hit over $20 an hour. So
Right.
it's a matter of experience and time served,
Yeah.
and promotional opportunities, which these are, a lot of these, if you're good at what you do, you can move up in what you do.
Right.
And they will promote from within, with some strong skill sets. So and it's important to remember too that even at those level of salaries, if he wanted this sort of a job and had to drive to London from here in Booneville to get it, how much is he going to put out in gas, clothing,
Right.
eating at Wendy's every day or wherever,
Right.
and then losing that money on the commute end of things.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it all the time. I mean, I hate to look at how much I spend on gas to drive
Yeah.
around the region, but
Yeah.
you're actually, you're keeping more money in your pocket because
Right.
you're working here or working at home.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Tell us some of the stories you hear. Where do people call from? Do they have to tell you their location? Are they from within the country or international, or is it mostly?
For me specifically, it's within the company. Although we do also assist Canadian customers
Okay.
where I'm at. So there are instances where we get an off call, if you will, from the United Kingdom or
Okay.
Australia, a misroute, if you will.
Right.
My brother, who's from U-Haul, is specifically United States.
Okay.
So it does seem to vary a little bit between companies,
Right.
but there are those odd calls on occasion that slip
Right.
through the filters that make it interesting conversation.
You got any funny ones you can share on Facebook or?
I've never actually had one myself.
Okay. All right.
But there was one instance I recall, because any working from home job, you're gonna have a chat with everyone in it,
Right.
so you can get assistance.
Yeah.
A young lady had a call from China, and they could not understand each other
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And she was basically begging anyone, if they knew how to speak, I believe it was Mandarin, to help her out on the call. And since we were literally all in the United States, this wasn't happening.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Challenging call for that young lady,
Sure.
but
Right.
a comical story at the end of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'll say real quickly, speaking of China, one of the companies that we have that's going to join us in Eastern Kentucky in mid-April at our employer open house outreach is VIP Kid. And what you do with that job is you are teaching English as a second language to Chinese children. And that is a great opportunity for teachers, for retired teachers, current teachers that want to get a little extra income or anything like that.
Yeah.
If you have any of the ability to teach a 5-year-old kid in Shanghai how to speak very elementary English, you can do that. And
Right.
VIP Kid is FlexJob's #1 out of their top 100 companies for 2018 for remote work hiring.
Wow.
And they're coming to Eastern Kentucky.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what about benefits that go along with some of these jobs? Do some of them have benefits, health insurance?
Sure.
What have you kind of seen your experience with that?
All of them offer health benefits.
Yeah.
I think that's a standard expectation for any employer.
Yeah,
The biggest difference I see is retirement benefits.
right,
That seems to be more based on full-time versus part-time.
right.
But the companies that offer full-time do offer those benefits as well.
So do you have those benefits at Southern?
I take full advantage of all of those benefits.
That's awesome.
Medical, dental, vision, and retirement.
Yeah, I mean, that's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And an opportunity to move up the ladder. I mean, you can
Exactly.
consistently work your way up. And what about your supervisor? How do you communicate with a supervisor? You know, you can't have a staff meeting, obviously, in your traditional sense.
That's right.
Let's have a staff meeting today.
It's totally possible, but it's a little bit different. It's
Right.
a little bit different. Rather than being what you would expect at a brick and mortar location, everybody
Right.
huddles up to chat with them.
Yeah.
They simply pull the team aside
Uh-huh.
and have a nice little chat on a bridge.
Okay.
That's one version of it. For me specifically, because I have moved up in the ranks over the course of my career, I started taking calls. I did that for about a year and 2 months.
Uh-huh.
I'm no longer taking calls consistently.
Okay.
I'm more of an advisor, basically, a
Awesome.
supervisor in a sense. But the way we communicate at this level is literally strictly through a bridge.
Yeah.
Whereas while taking calls, your supervisor could pull you aside in a chat just to have a little friendly get together.
Right.
Or they could pull you aside to have you spend 10 minutes on the phone with them one-on-one for
Gotcha.
whatever was necessary. There are
Yeah.
still options.
Right. Right. So you're still connected and have communication
Very
and
much so.
conversation.
Much more communication at a job like this than a brick and mortar.
I found, and this was something they talked about at that conference, employers that said, you know, you've been in this mindset, and if you work in a brick and mortar and you feel like your employees are there 8 to 5, 5 days a week, that they did their work.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that's not
Absolutely
always
not.
the case.
There's way too many water
So-
cooler moments, you know.
Right. So
Yeah.
so you know, in a traditional employment situation, you think as long as people are here, stuff's getting done. But when you're in a remote work environment, it really becomes about what you're producing and what
Absolutely.
you're doing and what your numbers are and who you're talking to. So that it's not as much a time thing, but it's a production thing.
Exactly.
You know, what are you getting done? And we've actually at the SOAR office, we've integrated every Friday as an optional work remotely day. So there are days that we're all working from home, and we'll still get together for a video conference and have our kind of daily stand up and say what are we working on, and it makes me on that day focus much more what are people doing rather than just thinking they're in the office. So it's all good.
That's right.
So I think we're about finished. Unless anybody else has any questions, we would be happy to answer those. But we're going to wrap this thing up. I'm making sure I didn't miss any questions. Some good comments and thoughts. Again, share this with your friends. We call this the Future of Appalachia podcast, where we're going to be going around to different communities, different projects, leaders, entrepreneurs. Telling the story of what people are doing and how we believe there is a future in Appalachia, and it's a bright future. There may be challenges, but we believe there's a lot more opportunity than there are challenges.
That's right.
On our last session, we had the mayor from Prestonsburg, and I said, Mayor, we believe there's a future in Appalachia. He said, I don't believe it, I know it. So we may have to change that tagline. We know there's a future in Appalachia. I think Chris is a great example of that, and the work that Michael's doing. And so just at this one hub, we've talked to Chris.
Right.
There's 149 others.
Right.
Right. Over
Actually 154.
154
Yeah.
others
Mm-hmm.
that this is we could just tell story after story of lives impacted and changed.
That's right.
That now he does have money to go to Wendy's, or
Mm-hmm.
and so it impacts the local businesses.
Right.
Money that would not be in Booneville if
Yes.
it were not for this opportunity.
That's right. That's right.
Health insurance, so the medical providers. I mean, this is just. I want people to understand the scalability and the impact of this.
We just had a job fair for a company called Conduent Monday and Tuesday of this week at all of our Teleworks hubs. We had a little bit of a curveball thanks to Mother Nature, but we pulled it off and had about 225 people apply for work with them, and that job is technical support for smartphones and certain desktop computer operating systems that are quite popular. And they will be hiring. I mean, we had those job fairs, and that's great. It's not over. That companies that we're working with, and again, I'll give credit to Flex Jobs because that was a company that came to us through them. They want 20 hires a month from Teleworks clients in our region for the rest of this year. They have a huge requisition with this company that they're working with and have a contract with.
A fruity company?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's it's something everybody likes.
Yeah.
And kind of popular, but they want 5 jobs a week, 20 jobs a month from, I'm not just saying through Teleworks, that's the people we serve, that's Eastern Kentucky. So if we can find 20 people a month to send to them, the odds of them being hired is quite great. And those start about $11.50 an hour, full benefits, full-time work, and promotional opportunities in that. So anybody that wants to find out more about that, please visit teleworksusa.com online. If you're in a community with a hub, you can go to that website and see the contact information for all of our managers at each of the hubs. Find the one closest to you, call that manager, come in and see them. And it's even more important now than ever, those workshops I referenced earlier have that technical support, really specified component on these operating systems. We may have some additional opportunities coming in late April with another job fair with another partner company with the exact same kind of jobs. Do this workshop first, sign up for a workshop, do that, get that technical support expertise, and then apply for those jobs. Your odds of getting hired are much greater, and your odds of moving up are much greater if you do, and work with all of our managers in our hubs first to get upskilled really quickly. 2 weeks is all it takes, and then start applying for those jobs, and we can help you from there. So that's another good opportunity coming up very soon.
So websites, teleworksusa.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a community and you're interested in wanting to know how you would get a Teleworks Hub started in your community,
Mm-hmm.
rewind and watch the beginning of this
Yeah.
tonight, and then this show, and then reach out. Probably Mike, would you
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
the point of contact at
Sure.
EKCEP?
Yes.
And we'll make sure to plug Mike in, but you can reach him at EKCEP. What's EKCEP's website? Just
EKCEP.org.
EKCEP.org, and another acronym.
Yeah.
East Kentucky Concentrated Employment Program.
You got it.
And we are at SOAR, SOAR, not SORE today anyway. Shaping our Appalachian region, and we're the kind of host of this podcast, and we're just sharing the different stories of what people are doing within the region that are making a difference. And we're thankful to be here today. I'm going to wrap this thing up right now, and I'd like to just for a moment, I want everybody to keep in thought in their thoughts and prayers the family of the officer in Pikeville that lost he was murdered 2 days ago, and I just saw some texts and notifications coming through that they may have caught his.
Good.
So just remember them, that family, that community, and let's do that as we wrap up today. Again, feel free to share this with your friends. Send it we'll get it up on YouTube, link to it, and we got a whole series of these. Feel free to go back and watch those. And we'd invite you to be a partner of SOAR. You can go to our website, SOAR-KY.org, and jump on and sign up and say, I do believe there's a future. I want to be a part of that. You can do that just by making a donation. We're a nonprofit. Or you can sign up and say, I want to be engaged. I want to help in my community. I want to run an action team. And we'll help you figure out how to do that. So again, thank you, Jared Arnett with SOAR and Mike Cornett with EKCEP.
Thank you.
Chris Johnson, he's the star of the show. And
Absolutely.
we thank him for joining us today. So thank you guys.